Hello language learners, it's Maddie here again, English with Maddie. And today I am back for another book club video here in my library. Today I am going to be sharing some contemporary romance novel recommendations. So before I jump into any of these books, I just want to have a brief disclaimer to say that I am recommending these books to adults only and that there is some romance featured in these books. So maybe if you are using a book to study English from, you may want to be a little bit careful before you go bringing this book to your teacher and saying, "What's this?" So, just now that we have that out of the way, these are 4 of my favorite contemporary romance novels, and I think that particularly young women are going to be the most interested by these novels. If that is not you, you can certainly continue on listening, see what I have to say about some of my favorite romance novels, but otherwise, thank you for coming this far. So, I have mentioned the word contemporary romance. Much like fantasy or fiction, any other kind of genre, there are many sub-genres. So when we have a romance novel, we have the idea in our mind that 2 people in some way are falling in love. In a contemporary romance, we can already assume that that love story is taking place in our world, in Earth. It's not fantasy, there's no magic happening. And it's going to be in the modern day. This is not a historical romance. There are no ancient emperors or queens of past realms wandering around. These are all happening in or around the year when the book was written. So, the first book and author I'm going to recommend to you is Animal Magnetism by Jill Shalvis. This is a series, I think there are about 8 or 9 books in this series, and it is focusing on a small town veterinary clinic. We have different characters appearing in this novel and in the future novels in the series that include some kind of person who works in this vet clinic or with animals or something relating to the field of animals. This does take place in a very small town in Idaho. So we think about rural, charming, idealistic, small town setting. Not that many people, someone new comes to town and it's very exciting. So that is the first book by Jill Shalvis. She also has other series and has written many other novels. So if this topic doesn't sound interesting, I would still check her out if you are a fan of contemporary romance. The next book is likewise in a series written by a very famous and popular contemporary romance author. This is Delicious by Susan Mallory. And in this book, we can see why I would be interested. This romance is taking place in the kitchen. We have 2 different chefs here who are kind of forced to work together. Obviously, shenanigans and love ensues from these tight working quarters. So it is a very fun tale about these 2 individuals who have to suddenly work together in a kitchen environment. Kitchens are crazy places, lots of gossip, long working hours, tons of characters, so many other people are around all the time, so we can imagine it's going to be quite an interesting time. Another incredibly popular contemporary romance author is none other than Nora Roberts. This is one of the books in the Bride Quartet, so 4. There are 4 different girls who are friends, and throughout each of the books we meet each one of them a little bit more intimately and we get to know her individual love story. The thing that I really love about Nora Roberts, and she has written so many books, so many different styles of romance. She has done more magical things and contemporary things, historical. No matter what it is, she always features quite heavily an element of friendship. There is always such a bond of friendship, and she usually includes really, really strong women who are very dedicated to their work, very focused on their goals. So again, I feel like it's pretty easy to understand why I am drawn to this author. Nora Roberts also writes under the pen name J.D. Robb as a mystery writer, so just throwing that out there. If you are not a fan of romance, but you are interested in Nora Roberts, I think she's quite talented and has something for just about everyone. The last book I'm going to share with you today is an author I don't know quite as well. I have only read this one short series by her. Her name is Donna Kaufman, and she wrote this book, Sugar Rush, and it is part of a series of books, which, as you can already guess from the cover, we're again jumping back into bakery pastry world. In this book, we have the main character who has left New York City to pursue her dreams of opening her own cupcake shop in a more rural area, and her past kind of comes back to haunt her as a guy she used to know comes to find her to try to work again in her kitchen. So again, we're delving a little bit into the food chef kitchen territory with this novel. It is quite entertaining and very lighthearted, fun. There really is nothing too serious going on in this or any of the other books I mentioned today. I am not as familiar with other things that Donna Kaufman has written, so I can't go out of my way to really recommend anything else she's written, but I certainly did enjoy this book. So that is all for my recommendations right now for contemporary romance novels. I do have another video coming soon for some other kinds of romance novels that would fall under that umbrella of romance, things like fantasy or historical, etc., etc. So I really hope you enjoyed some of these recommendations. If you are looking for any further recommendations, or if you have questions about any of the novels I mentioned today, as always, don't hesitate to leave me a comment or question down below. I'm always so happy to hear from you guys. I think reading is such an amazing way to be practicing a new language, and one reason I really wanted to share these romance novels today was because, to me, the best way to be learning a new language is by doing something you enjoy. And so reading a textbook, reading news articles, reading really heavy things all the time, it's not always enjoyable. It can be a lot. It can be a lot to take on, especially if you're trying to read the news. Sometimes, even when you're learning a new language and you want to put in the effort, you don't want to stop learning, your mind needs a little bit of a break. So I think something like a lighthearted, fun, not so challenging romance novel that's more focused on character development and very simple, relatively simple plot lines and things like that are going to be a great tool if that has any interest to you, because you will have a little bit more of an easy time reading the book, especially if you find it enjoyable. And I also think that when you are having fun, you are enjoying it, you have so much more motivation to keep going. So if you are feeling any stirrings of burnout in your language learning, I would suggest trying to do something like this. Read something completely for fun. Don't pick up a textbook, don't pick up a test prep, ACAN, TOEIC, any of that. Put that aside for a night and give one of these books a try. So on that note, I will wrap up this video. Thank you guys so much for watching and learning along with me. I so appreciate it. That is all I have for you today. As always, if you look in the description box, there is a link to the English with Maddie website where I have more information about all of these books that I talked about today. Reading level, length, a little synopsis, all of that, so you don't have to worry if you missed anything. Of course, you can always leave me questions or comments below, and don't forget to subscribe so that you don't miss any videos here on English with Maddie. Until next time, happy studying!